All right, we're going to move right on to our next segment, which is prevention of identity theft. How many of you in here know somebody who's been a victim of ID theft? Most everybody. That's pretty common. And I tell you what, as hard as we try, technology comes out and they take advantage of it before we're aware of it and can prevent new technology to counteract that. So it's going to be an ongoing problem. There are some steps that you can take, however, to help yourself not become a victim of ID theft. Some of the information. Identity theft occurs when somebody steals some of your pertinent information, whether it's social security number, it can even be your address, driver's license number, date of birth, mother's maiden name, PIN numbers, account numbers, any information that they can use along with other information that they can now take advantage of a financial asset of yours. That's ID theft. Some identifying information, name, date of birth, social security number, driver's license number, bank account numbers, credit or debit card numbers, PIN numbers, mother's maiden name, and passwords, as I said. ID theft is, I can't tell you how many cases we have on ID theft, and there's usually not a lot that we can do about it. So losses up to $200 are misdemeanors. Losses in excess of $200 are felonies, just like shoplifting. It's a Class 6 felony. Sources of identity theft. Mail. Now don't be embarrassed just because the camera's on you, but raise your hand if you've ever sent off a check to somebody and put it in your mailbox in front of your house and put the little red flag up. A few of you, okay, now you're being honest, I like that. Most of us have done that. None of you probably do it anymore, and if you do, you won't do it after tonight, I hope. That's easy. People go around looking at that flag up, they'll take your mail out of there. And if it's a check, that's simple. They just put that in a little solution, wash that ink right off of there, and rewrite the check to themselves. They'll usually make it for the exact same amount so that it shows up in your statement. Yeah, it was to so-and-so for $650, I remember that. And boom, they're $650 richer. You don't know it for 2-3 months because you know that was the right amount. And until you get a call from that company saying, hey, you didn't pay us. Yeah, I did. I remember it. I pulled it up right here. Well, you better view the check. It's not to that company you wrote it to. So please don't put mail in your mailbox and put the flag up. That's just one thing. Change of address form. These are ways that they can get information from you. Don't leave them just hanging around. Shred that information. Internet fraud. Anytime you're dealing with something over the internet. Now, I buy stuff over the internet all the time. I pay bills over the internet. I do internet banking. But I am always checking to make sure that anytime I'm typing in credit card information or account information, any of that, I'm looking to see, first of all, it has that little lock symbol, and it's also going to say HTTPS in the address bar. That S stands for secure. Most all websites just are HTTP : //. Okay? Make sure you see that S and that little lock symbol. Okay? When you see those two things, feel comfortable in putting your information in that arena at that time. Dumpster diving. I don't know if you know this. When you put your trash into your driveway on the street to be collected, it's now abandoned property. Anybody can legally come by and go through your stuff and take what they want. It is considered abandoned property. So don't put any of your credit card statements out there, anything in that trash that somebody else can get. Shred all of that information, please. Stolen or lost wallet. That happens all the time. Advice I will give you. Keep as little in your wallet that you carry with you as possible. 1 or 2 credit cards maybe, some cash, your driver's license. Leave the other stuff somewhere else or in a separate wallet at home or locked away in your car somewhere, in your trunk.
Especially your Social Security card.
Yes, you should have that memorized, and you shouldn't ever need that until somebody like passport people needs it or whatever. But know exactly what's in your wallet so that if you lose it or it's stolen, you know exactly who you need to contact, and you can do it right then. Okay, if it's just 2 credit cards, a debit card, driver's license, whatever, call them immediately. Immediately. My mother-in-law, we went on a trip to New York City last year. My wife and child and myself met my wife's mother in New York City. The first day we're there, we ate lunch at Carnegie Deli. My mother-in-law paid. So nice of her. It was nice of her because it was like $17 a sandwich. Of course, we could have ate on it for a week. However, a few hours after that, we were in Macy's and she was trying to get something and her wallet was gone. Gone. Just pickpocketed her probably right there at the restaurant. As she put it back in before she walked out, they probably took it out. And of course, I was appalled. Here I am, a crime prevention specialist, and right out from under my nose did they do it. But it happens, especially in places like that. So know exactly what you've got with you so you can cancel that stuff immediately. By the time she called, they had already tried to make a purchase at a store for $400 and something that actually was declined. They didn't do it, so that was good. Burglary or larceny, they break into your house, they get information, you think they stole your computer and some cash and some jewelry. That was peanuts. That was just the tip of the iceberg. You didn't think about the ID theft that occurred when they broke into your house and took all that critical information because they got your bank statements and things like that you had laying around. Now you're in a lot worse shape than you were just when you lost that computer and jewelry. So make sure you're checking that stuff too. Phone scams. I just had an email the other day. They are getting really good. Now there's email programs that will email you from people you know. This was from a former Board of Supervisors member here who I worked with on a couple of task force, and I got an email from him. He was robbed in it was New York City or somewhere. Oh, it was another country. It was another country. He was mugged in another country, and they took everything. He had his passport because it was in a hotel, but he needed cash to get back. Can you Western Union it to me? And this is from a friend of mine, a Board of Supervisors I knew. I'm like, if it's him, so sad. He's not getting any money from me, okay? But I mean, these scams are elaborate. They're good, and they'll draw at your purse strings. Just don't fall for that stuff. Just don't fall for it. Friends and relatives. Now, skimming equipment. Always look when you're using your credit cards or debit cards, or if you go to ATM machines, look to make sure everything looks normal. You can see that whole system right there was put on, okay? And that's a card reading device. It's a card reading device. You stick your card in there, it's reading all the information. And then, to go along with that, they may have something like that placed on the side, which is a camera, so they can see you typing in your PIN number. So they've got all the information on the card, they've seen you type in your PIN number, you're done. They got your information. They've already produced 500 of those. Okay? So your bank will never put something like that out there. They won't put a little information holder and flyer next to the ATM. They're not going to do it. So if you see it, don't use that ATM and notify that bank immediately. Okay?
You think they do something like that at gas pumps?
Absolutely. I was in Florida at an ill dad last year before last, and there was a lot of people that were getting their credit cards taken. And the technology, we hadn't even caught up with that yet. They weren't even sure how they were doing it. The police down there weren't sure how they were even doing it yet. they thought it was a proximity reader of some sort. So if you were near these pumps, it was reading your credit card information. There are actually items sold now. They're little, they looks like tinfoil packets that you can put your credit cards and things in that are supposed to prevent electronic skimming of your credit cards and things. How to protect yourself. Don't place bills in the mailbox, as we talked about. Okay, it's a no-brainer. Check bank statements monthly. I'm a victim of serious theft. I used to own a restaurant in Florida, and I had turned it over to a manager who was going to buy it from me, and I was an absentee owner at the time because I was beginning to work on another project, and he stole over $112,000 from me in a 2-month period of time. And he had the bank statements forwarded to his house, and me being stupid and naive, wasn't in a hurry to go check my bank statements or anything. And that's how he was able to get away with it for 2 months. So make sure you're getting those and you're getting them on time. Remove Social Security numbers from your driver's license number. Check that when you leave here. Mine used to have my driver's license number, my Social Security number was my driver's license number when I first moved here. It's not anymore. Most of you that have had it renewed, it's probably not more, but just check to make sure. Limit your personal information on checks. If somebody needs some information that's not on the check, ask them why, but write it on the check if you need to. But don't just have it on every blank check with all your information listed on there. Opt out of credit card. This works. 1-888-5 opt out. It prevents you from getting 90% of those credit card offers that you get 5 a day in the mail. It's an awesome thing. So try that. 1-888-5 opt out. Use secure passwords. What is secure? I like some of these programs now. They'll give you a sliding scale. That's not very secure. That's pretty easy to break, and medium, and that's great. Now, of course, don't do the great secure ones because you'll never ever remember it again unless you've written it all over the place, because it's like dollar signs, up, down, upper, lowercase numbers. It's crazy stuff. How many of you get your credit report on an annual basis or more often? Only about 5 or 6. I tell you what, I get mine, I get them as often as I can. At least twice a year, I get mine. You will be amazed at some of the stuff that's on there, and it can be scary. First of all, who's checking your credit? You might want to know that. Occasionally you'll find your name associated with an address. I found one of mine 3 times ago. It was a Hal Diggs associated with an address somewhere in West Virginia. I'm like, come on now, it's on my credit report. That's telling me somebody may have got my information and opened up an account or an address at that location and was trying to get credit cards or something. So pay attention to those things. Check them. It'll tell you something's gone wrong. There's an account on there you don't know and you don't have. Call the credit bureau. Find out about it. Okay, get it canceled. Do whatever you need to do. Credit cards in possession, as we talked about. Sign the back of your credit card immediately. A lot of people do this CID stuff. How many of you have done that? Sign the back of your credit card CID. Every one of them. Can I have your credit card, please? Oh man, I left my wallet in my car. Okay, I'm going to go to a store. I'm going to give them this credit card and my ID. Now, you're relying on the fact that that person is going to actually verify that the name on this one is the name that's on that driver's license. Okay? I wouldn't leave it up to an $8 an hour clerk to do that. Right? Okay, sign your signature that's on your license. Okay? That's my recommendation to you. And you control the market. Everywhere you go, If somebody just takes that credit card, pinch them. Say, hey, can you please ask to see my ID? Get in that habit. Make them get in that habit. Shred everything. How many of you have a home shredder? Awesome. Awesome. As I said, you know the old saying, one man's trash is another man's treasure. So shred everything, please. Don't leave any important information in its whole source form out on your street corner waiting for the trash to come hours later or even the next day. A lot of you wheel your stuff out the night before. That gives somebody all through the night under darkness to go through your trash looking for stuff. Take it out there the next day if you can. So, warning signs. Your statements stop arriving. We talked about that. First clue. You should know when they come. And for most everything, except for my bank statements, I've gone to internet statements. That's just me. I'm not saying that you need to do that. It's one less paper item that somebody can get a hold of to steal my identity. You're denied credit. You know you have good credit, or you think you have good credit, and you apply for something nominal, and all of a sudden you're denied. Check into it. Something might be wrong. You start getting bills from companies you don't recognize. Like I was nervous for a while and really paying attention to my credit stuff when I saw that West Virginia address up there, because that's what I was thinking. Somebody got some information and they opened up a credit card in my name and had it sent to that address. Nothing ever worked with that. Nothing ever happened with that. So try to collect debts that don't belong to you. You get that happening to you, it's time to start documenting everything and keeping that stuff forever. Keeping it forever. When I went through that restaurant fiasco, there was a lot of money that I had to pay people. And there were some of it I wasn't responsible for, some of it was. It took me years to pay back a lot of the money that I had to pay for that. I had a company try to collect on a last year, so 2011, from a 1995 debt that was paid. Thank goodness I had all my information that stuff was paid. Now, I had to keep that stuff, that was 16 years. Wow. And it was fraudulent, and I let them know that. I said, you're trying to collect a debt fraudulently. This debt was paid, and I'm only imagining what would happen if I didn't have the documentation to prove that I had paid that. Okay? Yeah. I mean, they could have taken me to court and said, no, he never paid, yada, 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 and I'd own that money. So keep records of all that stuff. Send correspondence by certified mail. If you think you're a victim, please call us. Let us take a report, get information. I can tell you, it's rare when we find the criminal in these cases. It's really rare. But sometimes it seems like they always go into Walmart and they got cameras. You know, I guess they haven't seen that on TV enough that, they steal a credit card and go on to Walmart and there's their picture and, the stamps and everything. So we catch a lot of them that way. But, and keep in contact with the investigator assigned to your case. Credit bureaus. Again, contact them. Check all three at least once a year, if not more often. Okay, there's TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax are the three major reporting agencies, and there's their information up there. This says obtain your report every 3 months. I would recommend that if you can. Now, I'm fairly certain that they only have to give you one a year at no charge. So you may have to pay for the others. But I work all those, you see those jingles on television where people check your credit reports and so forth, freecreditscore.com and all those. Well, there's several of them. So I'll use one this time, sign up for the service, cancel it before my trial period's up, and get my credit reports. Then 6 months later, I'll call the other service, my free thing and credit report, so you can work the system a little bit, get your credit reports. Creditors, notify all creditors and financial institutions in writing of anything that's happened to you. Okay, they need to be aware of it. They need to work with you. They need to be able to cancel credit cards immediately. Make sure that these things aren't being used without your permission. A lot of these credit card companies are getting very good at recognizing your spending habits. And if you do something out of the ordinary, they'll call you. That's great. That's fantastic. I get called all the time because I have awkward spending habits, apparently. If an existing account has been stolen, ask the bank to issue new cards. Obviously, that goes without saying. And monitor your statements, as I said. I'm amazed at things that come up in my bank statements, on my business checking account last year. There was a $13,000 deposit into it that I didn't make. Like, wow, that was a good consulting job. I don't remember it though. And 2 weeks later, it was gone. And then the bank tried to charge me for a return fee, something or another. Like, hold the bus. I didn't put this money in there and take it back out. I had nothing to do with that. So you just got to check that stuff. Federal Truth in Lending Act limits your liability in most cases to $50 per credit card. To me, that's awesome. That's an insurance policy. Now, I'm not suggesting that this is right or wrong. I don't personally sign up for one of those $15 a month things they try to sell you to watch my credit and notify me if something goes wrong. First of all, because I'm doing that. My wife wonders why I'm on the computer every day checking our accounts. Well, because I want to know immediately when something happens. Second thing is, if it does happen to me, for the most part, I know my liability is going to be $50 per credit card. So that's good. That's good. Bottom line, victim must act quickly to minimize your damage. So if you're staying vigilant, you can act quickly. If you're not watching your stuff, it might be months before you realize that your identity has been stolen, and it may have cost you thousands, and even more aggravation than you ever want to know to try to restore your credit to the way it was.